Hey guys, tonight we walk through the veiled corridors of history where few footsteps echo and fewer names remain known. You open your eyes just before the call to prayer. The marble beneath your feet is cold. Your shadow stretches long as the sun rises over Istanbul's skyline. The Bosphorus glimmers beyond the palace walls. The great wooden gates of Topkapi have already begun to creak open. Servants shuffle past in silence, robes brushing the stones. The smell of bread baking filters through the morning mist. You are no one. You are one of many. A concubine. And you probably won't survive this century. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening in bed, let me know your location and local time in the comments. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The palace looms above you, perched on the Seraglio point like a sleeping lion. Its domes and towers are painted with yesterday's sunlight, gold leaf glinting from the roof lines. You can smell damp stone-heated oil and rosewater. You walk beneath the imperial crest. You do not speak. No one does at this hour, not unless spoken to. You are barefoot. The path beneath you is pressed limestone polished by centuries of sandals. To your left, an arched corridor lined with green tile. To your right, a low garden where citrus trees begin to bloom. You follow the inner wall toward the Gate of Felicity, though you will not enter it. That gate is reserved for the Sultan and the Grand Vizier. You stop short and bow your head as a eunuch passes. He says nothing. His robe is purple. His face is unreadable. He holds a waxed scroll likely from the Valide Sultan. His steps echo like a metronome down the hall. Historians still argue whether the eunuchs of the inner court wielded true administrative power or simply served as extensions of the Sultan's will. Either way, you don't look him in the eye. You hear the scrape of wood and iron. The Janissary guards change shifts near the imperial kitchens. They wear tall felt hats and carry curved scimitars, but their shoulders slump. Even they are still waking. You smell boiling water and faint cinnamon. In the corner of the courtyard, a cat stares at you from a marble bench. It is not afraid. Above you, seagulls circle the palace dome. Their cries cut through the silence like splinters. Somewhere, a muezzin begins his call. The chant rises and falls like breath. You stop and listen. It is not for you, but you absorb it. You count your steps toward the harem gate 112, always the same. You cross under a low arch where an inscription in Ottoman Turkish reads, "Those who enter here belong to none but the Sultan." The inscription is gilded but faded. No one touches it now. Inside the gate, the stone turns to mosaic. Tiny blue and green tiles form patterns that move when you blink. Tulips, vines, stars. Some tiles are missing. No one replaces them. The hallway narrows. The air is warmer here. Oil lamps still burn low from the night shift. The smell is dense incense, sweat musk. You hear whispers, then silence. You know better than to call out. You move through the vestibule of the black eunuchs, keeping to the left, one foot after another. The floor slopes slightly uphill. A tray drops somewhere ahead. A soft curse follows. You pause beside a lattice screen. Behind it, the dormitories begin. Curtains sway. You feel their breath before you hear the sighs girls just waking shifting under thin linen covers. The harem is not one room, it is hundreds. Corridors loop. Doors open into salons, chambers, closets, hidden passages. You once followed a mouse and ended up behind the Sultan's kitchens. You never told anyone. Curiosity gets girls sent away. You pass a wooden screen where carved roses curl inward. You touch the frame lightly. It's smoother than silk. Each rose petal sanded down by 1,000 fingers over decades. A quiet signal passed between girls who never met. Your chamber is small. 3 mats, 2 shelves, a copper basin in the corner. Your mattress is filled with goat wool. The blanket smells faintly of vinegar and lavender. There's a single glass window the size of your hand. Light comes in through it now, a perfect triangle moving across the wall. You kneel on the mat and begin the morning stretch. Ankles first, then spine. You press your forehead to the cool floor and count to 10. You are not allowed to speak until the bell rings, so you listen. A girl 2 chambers over is humming. Badly. Someone shushes her. A splash of water. A cough. Cloth against stone. A long yawn muffled in fabric. The youngest girl in your corridor. Fatma walks past. She always forgets her sash. Her hair is still tangled. She looks at you, grins, and keeps walking. She will get in trouble. She always does. You dip your hands in the copper basin and press cool water to your eyes. The cold shocks your nerves awake. Your mouth is dry. You taste the salt from last night's stew. There was too much cumin. You run your fingers through your hair, thick, coarse, braided tight at the root. You undo it carefully. Each strand a thread in the fabric of your survival. One girl once hid a pin in her braid. She never returned from the baths. No one asked why. There's a shelf above the basin. On it, your soapstone, your comb, a folded square of muslin embroidered with a fig leaf. You made it yourself. The stitches are crooked, but no one notices. A bell rings. Once. You stand. You wrap the muslin over your chest and step into the hallway. The others emerge blinking. You are part of a slow tide moving toward the outer chamber. Each girl carries a basin or towel. The line forms naturally as it has for centuries. No words, just motion. The tiled floor is warm now. Heat rises through the walls. You smell lemon oil. The marble steam room waits at the end of the hall. You will enter it naked. You will sit in silence. You will let the steam loosen yesterday from your pores. No one will speak unless asked a direct question. It is said that the harem had over 300 women during the peak of the 16th century. That number changes depending on which historian you ask. Some say 400, some say closer to 800. Others insist only the favorites were counted, and the rest were simply there unrecorded. You are unrecorded. You step into the bath chamber. Steam greets you like a curtain. The walls vanish in mist. You hear the hiss of water on hot stone. You take a breath and vanish with it. Steam clings to your skin like a second breath. The bath chamber is round, domed, and echoing. Its ceiling is pierced by tiny star-shaped windows, each no larger than your palm. Morning light filters through the holes in pale shafts glowing against the vapor. You can barely see the girls around you, but you hear them water dripping from hair, the clink of copper bowls, the hush of cloth over skin. You walk forward slowly, tracing the edge of the marble platform with your bare foot. The floor is slick. You crouch near a basin already filled with warm water and dip your hands in. The heat crawls up your arms. You rinse your face again, careful not to splash. To your left, someone sneezes. To your right, someone exhales with a groan of relief. You recognize the silhouette of an older concubine, Layla, her spine bent from years of serving. She sits cross-legged, her eyes closed, steam rising around her like a shroud. You begin your ablutions following the order taught to you years ago: hair, face, neck, shoulders, arms. Each rinse is slow, almost ritualistic. You wash not just for cleanliness, but for order, for discipline. The skin must be soft. The scent must be subtle. Your worth is measured in gestures, and every movement is rehearsed. Historians still argue whether the hammam rituals were about hygiene control or indoctrination. Maybe all three. You don't argue. You just continue. You take the soapstone in your hand. It's been worn smooth from daily use. The lavender scent is nearly gone. You rub it along your shoulders, letting the foam rise and fall in slow waves. You scrub with a cloth firm, but not harsh. Too much pressure leaves red marks, and red marks are not beautiful. There are no mirrors in this room. Only polished brass panels where your reflection warps and bends. You catch a glimpse of your cheekbone, long and sharp. You lower your eyes. The water cools. Another bell rings. Twice this time. You stand. You dry yourself with the muslin cloth, quick and modest. The older girls are already wrapping their sashes, fixing their hair. No one dawdles. You follow them out the stone, colder under your feet now. Back in your chamber, the other two mats are empty. Their owners, Suna and Elif, have already gone to the outer salon. You dress quickly, layered silks, wide sash embroidered slippers. Your hair is parted down the middle, oiled lightly, with rose and fig. You braid the sides into loops, simple and even. Too much flourish draws suspicion. You step into the hallway. The light is different now, thicker, warmer. The sun has climbed, though it cannot reach you directly. You feel it only through its effect on others, the distant chatter of guards outside. The way the air shifts near the open windows, the faint buzzing of flies near the kitchens. You walk toward the central atrium. This is where the day begins. The atrium is square with a fountain in the center. Its tiles are blue and white, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The water trickles over stone fish heads, their mouths permanently agape. Around the edges, potted orange trees lean inward. Petals have fallen on the steps, small and white, like rice. You sit with the others on the raised benches, each girl spaced 2 arms' lengths apart. It is not just etiquette. It is surveillance. A eunuch stands near the door, arms folded. His uniform is cream with dark trim. His eyes sweep the room, never pausing. No one speaks without permission. No one leaves early. A tray arrives carried by 2 younger pages. On it, bowls of dates, olives, cucumbers, sliced thin goat cheese shaped into small spirals, bread still warm, honey thick in a copper spoon, a pitcher of goat milk sweating from the morning heat. You are allowed one of each, no more. You take your bread, fold it with cheese and a slice of cucumber. You chew slowly. It tastes earthy, plain grounding. The olives are sharp. The dates leave sugar on your fingers. The pages collect the trays again. One trips on the last step and is met with a barked reprimand from the eunuch. You lower your gaze, but you watch from the edge of your vision. The boy's face is red. He does not cry. The bell rings again. Once. It's time. You rise and follow the others through the eastern corridor. This part of the palace is lined with murals. Not of people Islam forbids it in most forms, but of gardens' trees. Abstract spirals that seem to pulse if you stare too long. One image near the end of the hall shows a tree with 50 branches, each ending in a stylized tulip. No one explains it. Everyone knows it. The classroom is small and high-ceilinged with narrow windows and low cushions. The tutor is already there, seated cross-legged in front of the calligraphy wall. He is old. His beard is white. His voice is even and dull, perfect for memorization. He begins with poetry. You recite along with the others. The rose is a veil for the thorn beneath. The gaze a mask for the storm beneath. Each line is repeated 3 times, each syllable measured. You do not rush. You do not trail behind. The tutor walks among you. He carries a thin reed. He does not strike. He taps. A warning only. You've never been tapped. Yet. He moves on to embroidery next. You take out your cloth needle and thread. Today's pattern is a pomegranate split open. You follow the guide slowly, stitch by stitch. The thread must be taut, the curve smooth. If your hand shakes, you start again. Music follows. Lutes, flutes, and voice. You are not a singer, but you hum. You feel the rhythm in your chest. The older girls harmonize. The younger ones fumble. One concubine, Yasemin, is asked to stand and perform. She does so with grace, her fingers trailing through the air like silk in water. Her voice does not crack. She is rewarded with a glance from the eunuch by the door. Just a glance. But it means something. Historians still argue whether the education provided in the Ottoman Harem was meant to cultivate pleasure or elevate the mind. Some say both. Others say it was just another form of control. You don't wonder. You just keep your hands moving. The lesson ends with a prayer in Arabic. You repeat the words, mouth dry. You do not speak the language fluently. Most of you don't. But the syllables are known, memorized, trusted. The tutor dismisses you with a nod. No words. He gathers his books and walks through a hidden side door. You hear the latch click behind him. You rise. You stretch your back. The embroidery remains in your lap, half finished. You tuck it away. As you walk back to the atrium, you notice a new potted tree has been placed near the fountain. A gift, perhaps. Its leaves are still glossy, untouched by dust. You stop for a moment. Breathe. Then move on. Your next task waits. But for now you have a minute. One whole minute to simply sit and watch the water slip between the fish heads and disappear down a copper grate. The minute passes. You rise with the others and move again, this time toward the western gallery where the tiled corridor leads into the deeper part of the harem. The morning routine is far from over. You are headed toward the bath chambers again, not for cleansing, but for ritual and preparation. You pass beneath another low arch. The mosaic patterns shift from sky blue to deep green, swirling vines wrapping up the walls and curling across the ceiling. Oil lamps burn low in their iron sconces. A breeze follows the bend in the hallway, tugging faintly at your sash. Your sandals make no sound. The deeper rooms are warmer. The floors here are lined with cushions, the air saturated with spice and incense. You know this path well. At the end of the hall is the smaller hammam, reserved not for washing, but for the daily ablutions and ritual preparations carried out with deliberate precision. You step into the room and remove your sash. A eunuch waits not facing you. He holds a copper bowl and a folded towel. He does not speak. He does not turn. You are not alone. Two other girls enter behind you, silent as you. You each take your place at one of the washing basins set along the tiled wall. Your hands go first, then your feet. You scoop the water, gently rinsing each digit, careful not to splash. The bowl is heavy in your palms, its rim cool despite the warmth of the water. You pour it over your arms in slow streams. You do not speak. No one does during this part. The scent of rose petals floats in the air. Someone has added crushed cloves to the oil burners. You inhale through your nose, then hold the breath for 3 seconds as taught. The cleansing is not just of body, but of presence. To be seen, to be summoned, to be worthy cleanliness is not negotiable. Your hair is combed again, this time by another concubine, older with fingers like wire. She does not ask permission. She parts it, braids it, twists it into a loose knot, and pins it with a brass needle. You remain still. You feel a tiny sting as she catches your scalp. "Don't flinch," she whispers, the only words spoken since you entered. Once finished, she nods and walks away. Her bare feet leave damp prints on the tile. You wait until they vanish, then rise. A bell rings. Just once. You wrap yourself in a clean over-robe, light silk, dyed with saffron and lined with linen. Your slippers are replaced with velvet ones, silent and soft. You exit through the opposite side of the chamber, following the line of concubines ahead of you. You pass a small window square barred with heavy curtains pulled halfway open. Outside, you glimpse the cypress trees swaying slightly, their needles trembling in the morning breeze. A garden lies beyond, though you are not allowed in it today. You reach the next room. This one is smaller, darker. The walls are hung with heavy tapestries, green, gold, crimson. The scent here is different, less floral, more like beeswax and myrrh. A eunuch sits behind a small writing desk. He does not look up as you enter. His hands move across parchment, noting names, times, observations. You do not speak to him unless addressed. He points once. You follow his finger and kneel at the mat he indicates. You wait. Minutes pass. The door opens again. This time, a higher-ranking eunuch enters. His robe is embroidered. He wears a leather belt with a silver clasp shaped like a tulip bud. His presence shifts the air. The other eunuch stands. This man walks down the line, slowly observing. His eyes are half-lidded, unreadable. He does not smile. He stops in front of a concubine to your left. He nods. She rises and follows him out. She will be presented to the Valide Sultan for approval today. Maybe she'll be selected. Maybe not. You don't think about it too hard. Hope is dangerous here. You remain on your knees for another 20 minutes. Your legs start to tingle. You do not move. You hear a fly buzz past your ear. You feel sweat forming beneath your sash. Finally, the eunuch at the desk gestures for the rest of you to stand. You do. You file out of the room and into the long corridor again. This time, the path leads to the outer garden, the one open to all concubines during mid-morning. The door is opened for you. You step outside. The sun is higher now. The heat is gentler than summer, but sharper than spring. The garden is lined with red poppies and climbing vines. The trees are fruitless but tall. Their shade is cool and welcome. You follow a gravel path that loops past the reflecting pool. Its surface is scattered with petals, most likely swept from nearby magnolias. A fish jumps. The sound echoes softly. You take your usual seat on the low bench carved from white stone. It is slightly curved, smooth from years of sitting. The others spread out around the garden. Some walk slowly, others stretch. A few sit with books, their pages yellowed from use. You have no book today, just your thoughts. You lean back slightly, eyes half closed. You feel the texture of the stone against your palms. You smell fresh mint. Someone nearby is chewing the leaves. The Valide Sultan often walks this garden, though she is not present now. Her presence is always marked by the sudden tension of every back straightening, every gaze dropping. Her robes whisper louder than voices. Historians still argue whether the Valide Sultan held true executive power or if her influence was symbolic, an illusion sustained by pageantry and tradition. You don't argue. You know she chooses who rises, who fades. You watch a bee hover over the poppies. It lands, clings, buzzes, then lifts again. The sound is gentle, repetitive, like a spinning wheel. The minutes pass. One of the younger concubines hums a lullaby. It is out of tune. No one corrects her. Someone begins singing softly in Arabic. The words are lost on you, but the melody is familiar. It's the song of waiting. You do not join. You listen. You breathe. You let the sun slip across your lap. A few feet away, an elder concubine is sketching. Her paper is folded on her knees. She uses a charcoal stick, swift and controlled. You glance once. A fig tree. A woman in profile. A dome. You close your eyes. You are not asleep. But you let your mind drift just enough to blur the edge of the present. You don't know how long you've been still. The garden's warmth wraps around your shoulders. The sun, now past its highest point, casts longer shadows across the poppy beds and gravel walkways. A breeze passes cooler than before, shifting the silk of your overrobe. It lifts the edge briefly, then lets it fall again. The call to midday prayer begins distant but clear. The voice travels over domes and minarets, smooth and rhythmic. You hear it not as a summons, but as a measure of time. You rise slowly, brushing a poppy petal from your lap. The other girls begin to stir as well. It is time to return inside. You walk through the shaded corridor leading from the garden to the main hall. The floor here is red tile. Your slippers make the faintest whisper against it. You keep to the right-hand side, as is custom. A eunuch passes on the left, carrying a scroll and a lacquered box. He does not look at you. You do not look at him. As you near the entrance to the main hall, you pause, not by choice. A group is passing through 3 women in dark silks, their heads covered, their hands folded inside their sleeves. Their sashes mark them as attendants to the Valide Sultan. You bow your head eyes to the floor. They move past like a shadow. You catch only a glimpse of the middle one's sleeve embroidered with white herons. You continue walking. The main hall is cooler. Its vaulted ceiling traps the morning's chill. The windows here are high, some colored with blue glass. Light spills across the mosaic floor in shifting patches. At the far end stands the chief black eunuch. His robe is long, deep indigo trimmed with gold thread. He does not move, but he sees everything. His face is unreadable, his hands clasped in front of him. You feel his gaze, but you don't meet it. You stand with the others along the side wall in a row. No one speaks. No one shifts weight from one foot to the other. You stay still. A silence follows. Then the echo of footsteps. You don't need to look to know who it is. The Valide Sultan enters slowly. Her pace is deliberate, almost slow enough to be mistaken for frailty. But you know better. She is not young, but her posture is straight. Her eyes sweep the room like water poured across a flat surface, filling every crevice, pausing in none. She wears layered robes of pearl gray, and around her neck a long chain of amber beads. Her veil is sheer, but enough to obscure the lines around her mouth. She does not speak. Her presence is enough. She walks past each of you. You do not breathe too deeply. You keep your chin down, eyes on the pattern at your feet, a 12-pointed star surrounded by tulips. She pauses in front of a girl to your right. Nothing is said, but a eunuch steps forward and gestures for the girl to leave the line. She does so with controlled steps, joining the Valide's attendants near the door. Another chosen. You remain. You feel no disappointment, or if you do, it's buried under years of similar moments. You return to your breath. Inhale through the nose. Hold. Exhale. The Valide exits. Her attendants follow. The eunuchs do not speak. Only once the great door has shut again does anyone move. You are dismissed with a nod. No words. You return to your corridor. Inside your chamber, your 2 companions are already sitting cross-legged. One is polishing a pair of slippers. The other is threading a new needle. You do the same. You take the pomegranate embroidery from its cloth wrap and find where you left off. The outer curve of the rind. You thread your needle careful not to fray the silk. You stitch for 20 minutes. The rhythm is steady. Over, under, pull, adjust. You hum softly, just enough to feel the vibration in your chest. Your fingers move without thinking. Then a tap at the door. You all look up. A eunuch stands in the doorway, scroll in hand. He reads a name. Not yours. Elif's. She stiffens. She nods once, sets down her needle, and stands. She leaves without looking at either of you. Suna sighs. Soft, quick, gone. You return to your stitching. An hour passes. You are summoned again, this time to the upper salon for further instruction. The corridor leading there is lined with mirrors, small, round, imperfect. The light bounces strangely between them. You catch glimpses of your own reflection, blurred and warped. You enter the salon through a velvet-draped archway. The room is wide with low benches arranged in a half circle. A court tutor stands near a writing board. She is tall, severe, wrapped in layers of black and silver. Today's lesson is posture and protocol. You sit with the others and straighten your spine. Your hands rest lightly on your knees. You keep your chin lifted just slightly as instructed. The tutor begins. She demonstrates the correct way to sit, to kneel, to offer a cup, to receive a compliment. Each gesture has rules. Fingers must curve. Eyes must soften. Words must be few and never louder than necessary. You watch, then mimic. The tutor walks between you, correcting shoulders, tapping wrists. Again she says. You repeat. You sip imaginary tea. You lower your eyes in pretend gratitude. You walk across the carpeted floor with an empty tray balanced on your fingertips. It is harder than it looks. The tutor corrects your stride. Your heel leads. That shows impatience. You nod and try again. Historians still debate whether the harem's education was meant to cultivate genuine refinement or if it merely trained women in ornamentation. You feel no need to debate. You feel only your calves aching from walking too slowly. The lesson ends when the sun has passed the highest window. You are dismissed again quietly. You return to the corridor, then to your chamber. Inside, Suna is alone. She glances up, then returns to her polishing. You do not speak. You sit. You pick up the needle. You continue where you left off. The scent of bread and fig drifts into the corridor. You smell it before you see the tray. A pair of eunuchs passes by carrying flat baskets lined with cloth, the edges of warm loaves peeking through folds of linen. One basket is stacked with glazed bowls, yogurt, honey, chopped walnuts. You are summoned to the outer courtyard. This meal is quieter than breakfast. You follow the others through the long hallway with the cracked mosaic floor. The tiles here are older, some missing entirely. You step carefully. Outside, the air is drier. The stone bench beneath the fig tree has not cooled since morning. You sit anyway, adjusting your robe so the fabric shields your legs from the heat. The bowls are passed down the line. You take one of each half a loaf of warm bread, a spoonful of honey, a curl of soft white cheese. A piece of fig rests on top like an offering. You eat slowly, one bite at a time. Bread first dipped in the cheese, then in the honey. You chew thoroughly. No one rushes. This is the quietest part of the day. The courtyard is walled on all sides. Vines creep up the marble pillars. You count the leaves on one nearest to you, 12 large, 4 small one, curled and brown. A bee lands nearby. You don't move. It stays for 3 heartbeats, then lifts away. The sound of chewing, the low murmur of birds, the creak of branches in the afternoon heat. These are the only noises. No one speaks. Not here. To your left, another concubine brushes crumbs from her robe into her hand, then places them in her bowl. Waste is noticed. Cleanliness is constant. After the bowls are collected, the concubines disperse in pairs and threes. Some return indoors. Others stay beneath the trees, fanning themselves with folded cloth. You remain where you are. Above, the sky is cloudless. The minaret beyond the wall is still. No wind, no shadow. The door to the kitchen opens again, this time not food, but scraps. Two eunuchs empty baskets of vegetable peelings, bones, stale ends of bread. They pour them into a smaller clay container and carry it toward the gate. You know where it's going. To the outer kitchens, the ones that feed the servants, the guards, the stable boys. You've seen the piles before in passing. You turn your eyes back to the tree. A fig falls. It hits the ground softly and splits open purple skin curling back to reveal its red seeds. No one moves to pick it up. It will be swept away by the afternoon crew. You stand smoothing your robe. Your hands leave faint prints on the cloth. You begin walking the length of the courtyard. Once, twice. Each loop is measured. You count your steps. 25 paces from end to end. Your slippers make almost no sound. The others walk too, sometimes alone, sometimes in silence together. The path is worn, but not obvious. Only those who live here see it. You pause at the fountain. It is small, shaped like a half moon tucked into the corner. Water trickles from a copper spout into a shallow basin. Fish swim their silver no longer than your finger. One has a red spot on its head. You've seen it before. The stone around the fountain is chipped. Someone once etched a design into it, flowers, perhaps, or birds. Time has worn it down into abstract curls. You dip your fingers into the water. It's cool. You feel the change in your pulse. From across the courtyard, a voice calls. Not loud, not urgent. Just a name. Not yours. Another concubine rises and follows a eunuch inside. The rest continue their walk. You resume yours. You know the steps. You know the path. It doesn't change. That's the comfort. That's also the weight. As the sun lowers, shadows stretch across the courtyard. The air thickens. The scent of bread fades. Now you smell sweat soap and faint perfume. A bell rings once. You return indoors. The hallway is cooler. Your feet are tired. You return to your chamber and sit cross-legged on your mat. You don't speak. Neither does Suna. The silence is not heavy. It's routine. You take out your cloth again. The pomegranate is almost done. Just a few seeds left to embroider. You begin to stitch. Outside, someone coughs. Down the hall, the soft rhythm of a broom on tile. Further still, a lute is being tuned. The sound of the string tightening, loosening. Then a short melody, just a few notes before it stops. You pause. You listen. Then you continue. The thread runs out. You tie it off. Set the cloth aside. Rub your thumb where the needle wore it smooth. You lie back. The ceiling is plain. White plaster cracked slightly in the corner. You trace it with your eyes. You don't close them. The door opens. A eunuch stands there, arms folded. He speaks softly. Prepare. Not to you, to Suna. She nods. You rise and leave the chamber. Outside, the air shifts again. The light is thinner. You follow the corridor to the outer chamber where your duties for the evening will begin. The outer chamber is long and low-ceilinged. Oil lamps flicker on brass sconces, casting soft halos on the green and white tile walls. The air smells of melted wax, sandalwood, and faintly of iron. You step into the chamber and fall in line behind the others already assembling. Each concubine carries a tray, a towel, or a covered bowl. No one is ever empty-handed here. Your task today is to carry a ceramic vessel of cooled rosewater. The bowl is shallow, its rim painted in cobalt blue, with tulip patterns circling the edge. You lift it with both hands, palms flat, beneath the warm underside. The water inside trembles slightly with each step. You follow the procession into the passage leading to the Sultan's outer rooms. You've never gone all the way in. Few do. Your path ends at the door of the second salon, where a eunuch will take your offering and decide whether it is fit. The walls here are richly carved. Each panel tells a story of conquest, of judgment, of power. Not in pictures, but in scripts and patterns. Lines of poetry curve along the walls like vines. You recognize a few words: glory, obedience, light. You don't look up. Your hands must remain steady. The corridor narrows as you approach the next door. The silence thickens. The only sound is the soft hush of slippers against the tiled floor and the faint drip of water from someone's tray. You enter the service vestibule. Here the eunuchs wait. There are 5 of them, each assigned to a different item or duty. One receives towels. Another accepts trays. One handles perfumes. The 4th records deliveries. The 5th directs traffic. You wait your turn. The 4th eunuch gestures. You step forward. He nods toward the rosewater bowl. You lower it gently onto the table. He examines it briefly, then picks it up and disappears behind a heavy curtain. You step back. Your task is done. You move to the left wall, where the other girls who have completed their deliveries stand, hands folded, eyes down. You remain there until all trays are checked. A bell rings. You are dismissed. You file out back through the passage, down the tiled corridor, through the low door, into the harem's central wing. The sun has dipped further. Shadows now stretch across the domes. The oil lamps burn brighter. Somewhere the call to the next prayer echoes longer, deeper, like a sigh drawn across the sky. You return to the main atrium. The fountain is still. The water inside reflects the flickering lamplight above. You pause near the edge. The surface is broken only by the occasional ripple from a drifting petal. You sit. You are not alone. Several other concubines sit nearby. No one speaks. A silence forms between all of you, soft as a woven cloth. You all know what time it is. The hours after the Sultan's meal are the most uncertain. At any moment, a name may be called. A direction may be given. Until then, you wait. You watch the reflections move. From somewhere behind the walls, the sound of the lute begins again. This time, a full song. Slow. Minor key. It rises, folds, drifts away. The older concubine across from you begins to braid her hair again, even though it's already perfect. Her fingers move rhythmically. She doesn't look up. Suna enters the room. She walks with measured steps, face blank. She does not look for you. She sits at the far bench and begins sewing without a word. Her shoulders seem tighter than before. No one asks what happened. You remain seated for another hour. At the next bell you rise. It is time for evening prayer. You follow the procession to the prayer hall, a rectangular room lined with woven rugs and low benches. The air is warmer here, fewer windows. The oil lamps burn lower, casting orange shadows. You kneel. The room is filled with the quiet rustling of robes, the soft whisper of recited verses. You bow. You rise. You bow again. The prayer is not optional, though your heart's intention is your own. You mouth the words. Some do it with conviction. Some do it because they must. Historians still argue whether these rituals in the harem were genuine expressions of faith or carefully maintained structures of control. You don't argue. You whisper the verses. You fold your hands. You lower your gaze. After prayer, the room empties slowly. No one rushes. The night has begun. You return to your chamber. The walls now cast long shadows. The corners feel closer. You relight the oil lamp, trim the wick, and place it carefully in the corner niche. Suna speaks for the first time. He asked nothing. You say nothing. She shrugs as if it didn't matter. You both know it does. She returns to her stitching. You lie back, hands behind your head. The ceiling seems farther now. The shadows shift as the lamp flickers. A knock. You both freeze. The door opens. A eunuch steps inside. His robe is red-trimmed. He holds a folded slip of parchment. He reads a name. Not yours. Suna rises. She ties her sash. She does not look at you. She leaves. You are alone. You hear the hallway door close. The oil lamp sputters. You reach over and adjust the flame. You lie back again. The room is quiet. Outside, distant voices pass. The corridor creaks. The wooden beams above groan with the weight of another day. You breathe slowly. You are not chosen tonight. You are not called. You are not seen. You close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your breath. In, out, still. The night deepens, and with it the quiet spreads. You open your eyes to shadows curling at the edge of the chamber walls. The oil lamp burns low, its wick no longer tall enough to keep a steady flame. The light wavers, throwing your silhouette softly against the plaster. You rise from your mat and move toward the corridor. The stone is cooler now underfoot, and the silence is thicker. It muffles each step you take as you begin your walk to the upper quarters. It is not your night, but you've been assigned evening duty. You do not protest. The upper level of the harem is more ornate than your quarters. The tiles are newer. The paint more vivid. The cushions are thicker. The air smells of musk and jasmine, and faintly beneath it, something sharper, burned resin perhaps, the kind used to mask less pleasant scents. You reach the large salon where the senior concubines sit reclining along the edge of a carpeted dais. Their robes are darker, richer. Burgundy, indigo, deep green. Some embroidered with silver thread, others with pearls so small they look like dew. You kneel by the side wall just outside the range of the lamp's glow. You are not part of this circle. Not yet. Maybe not ever. One of the older women looks toward you. She raises an eyebrow, but says nothing. A younger girl enters next. She is clearly nervous. Her hair is slightly uneven. Her sash is tied too tight. She bows. The room acknowledges her with a glance. No one speaks to her. She sits beside the wall near you, eyes down, fingers twitching in her lap. Then the door opens again. The Valide Sultan enters. The salon straightens. No one rises, but postures change. Shoulders lift. Eyes lower. She steps into the light and sits at the far end of the dais. Her robe is the color of pomegranates. Her veil is darker now. Only her hands are visible thin-veined, but steady. She does not speak right away. A eunuch enters behind her holding a long box. He places it before her and opens it. Inside letters, folded scrolls, tokens, gifts, requests. One by one, she lifts them, examines them, then hands them off to the concubine seated to her right. That woman sorts them into separate piles, each carefully stacked. You know this process. These are petitions. Some from inside the palace, some from distant provinces. Not all are political. Some are personal. Some carry coins, others locks of hair or slips of poetry. The Valide Sultan never rushes. Her silence weighs more than speech. She gestures with one finger. A concubine steps forward, hands over a sealed jar. Another concubine pours a small drink. Someone lights a coil of incense in the far corner. The room warms slightly. You remain in place. She speaks at last. Her voice is low, steady, not loud. You catch only fragments. A mention of the new Persian envoy, a request denied, a girl dismissed. No names, just outcomes. You wonder how many of these moments go unnoticed by those outside. How many decisions are made between sips of tea and the lighting of incense. How much weight passes through this room dressed in velvet and silence. Historians still argue whether the Valide Sultan truly acted as regent in matters of empire, or if her power was merely ceremonial, carefully curated by those around her. Some say she wrote letters in the Sultan's name. Others claim her role was confined to choosing favorites and ordering curtains. You don't argue. You watch as a concubine presents a silver ring. The Valide studies it, then hands it off. A nod is exchanged. A girl in the corner exhales slowly. The younger concubine beside you shifts uncomfortably. She presses her knees together and lowers her gaze further. A tray of sweets is brought in. Small cubes of honeyed walnut paste dusted with powdered sugar. The Valide takes one and bites slowly. The tray is passed around the room. It does not reach you. You do not expect it to. After an hour, the meeting ends. The Valide stands. The room bows. She exits with the same silence she entered. The older concubines begin to murmur softly. The spell is broken. You rise quietly and leave. Back in the hallway, you pass the scent of incense again. The walls glow dimly in the lamplight, and the floor is warm beneath your feet. You return to your chamber. Suna is there. She is lying on her side facing the wall. Her shoes are neatly placed. Her hair is unbraided. She does not speak. You lie down. The room is cooler now. The oil lamp has burned down to its base. You do not relight it. You watch the shadows shift across the ceiling as your eyes begin to close. Just before sleep finds you, you remember the weight of the silver ring, the way the Valide held it between two fingers, the way she passed it on without a word. And you wonder what it meant. But only for a moment. Then silence. The next morning begins the same way the last one ended, with silence and the rustle of linen. You wake before the bell. The air in your chamber is cool, damp almost. A thin layer of condensation coats the window pane. A faint draft pushes the edge of your sleeping cloth toward your feet. Suna is already up. She kneels near the basin, washing her face. Her motions are slow, careful, deliberate. She says nothing. You don't ask. You follow the same motions as yesterday, hands first, then eyes, then hair. The copper basin has cooled overnight. The water stings your skin awake. You don't flinch. The hallway is quiet. Other concubines emerge from their chambers, moving like sleepwalkers, their robes wrapped close, hair still unbound. The line toward the baths forms naturally without words, the same girls in the same order. You wonder briefly if anyone ever rebels, but not aloud. The morning wash is shorter today. The steam room is being cleaned. You rinse at the basins instead, splashing rose water onto your wrists, rubbing sandalwood oil behind your ears. Then the bell. One ring. You follow the flow of robes back toward the atrium. The garden doors are open. Cool light spills across the mosaic floor. The fountain's sound is louder in the morning, a crisp trickle that echoes gently against the stone. You walk slowly past it, noticing new petals floating on the surface, white, fragrant. From the magnolia trees above. You are not hungry. But breakfast is not optional. You take your share flatbread olives, a slice of melon. The bread is dry today. The olives are sharper. The melon is soft, too ripe. You chew slowly, keeping your eyes on the opposite wall. The green tile shifts slightly in the light. A concubine across from you sneezes. A eunuch glances her way. She nods. That is all. No one speaks. After the trays are cleared, you are sent toward the southern hallway. This path is less familiar. You've only walked it a few times. The floor changes here, thicker grout, cooler underfoot. The walls are plainer, with fewer designs. This part of the harem is older. At the end of the hall, you find the garden again. A different one. Smaller, narrower, enclosed on three sides by walls of lattice wood. Here, concubines are allowed to walk alone. You step inside. The path is stone, cracked, uneven. Vines twist along the fence. Bees hum quietly near the base of a pomegranate tree. The air smells of thyme and dust. You sit on a wooden bench. It creaks. No one else is here yet. You close your eyes. You imagine just for a second walking past the garden, past the fence, through the gate, beyond the wall. But you don't dwell on it. You open your eyes. You adjust your robe. The door opens. A tutor enters. She is older, with streaks of gray in her tightly wrapped scarf. She does not smile. She carries a small leather book and a reed pen. You rise, bow. She gestures for you to sit again. Today's lesson is oral court customs and protocols. You repeat phrases after her, each one a formula. With respect, I answer, if it pleases her grace. I accept the honor with humility. Your tone must be flat, controlled, each syllable precise. She corrects you twice. You accept it without protest. At the end, she hands you a folded cloth, embroidered with the palace emblem. You are to carry it at all times this week, a mark of your participation in court training. You bow again. She leaves. You remain in the garden. More concubines arrive. 2 sit near the fountain. Another begins to sweep the pathway with a bundle of dried branches. You stay seated. You touch the embroidered cloth gently. The thread is tight, the pattern dense, 2 tulips, one above the other, joined by a curling stem. You fold it and tuck it into your sash. The sun moves higher. You rise and walk the path. Each corner leads to another stretch of wall, another curve of vine, another scent. You pass a jasmine bush, then a bed of crushed mint, then the stone bench again. You stop. A bird lands on the fence above you, small, gray. It chirps once, then hops down to the edge of the path. You watch it tilt its head, then dart forward to peck at something unseen. You don't move. Eventually, it flies away. You leave the garden. Back in the hallway, the silence is interrupted by the shuffle of feet. A procession is forming. A caravan. You have seen it once before. The Valide Sultan is preparing for a pilgrimage. Not far. Not to Mecca, but to Ayup the shrine near the Golden Horn. She will go with her entourage, 20 women, 10 eunuchs, 4 guards. The courtyard is already buzzing. Carpets are being rolled out. Horses are being groomed beyond the wall. Gold-threaded banners are being removed from storage. You stand at the edge of the activity. You do not speak. You do not ask questions. You watch. One by one, names are called. Concubines are selected to accompany her, some for service, others for appearance. You listen closely. Your name is not called, but you are instructed to help with preparations. You join the group, folding linens, polishing copper trays, sorting jars of dried fruit and nuts. The labor is light but precise. Each tray must hold 3 kinds of fruit. Each cushion must be wrapped in blue linen. Each water jar must be sealed with wax. You move carefully. A mistake here is remembered. As you wrap a cushion, your hand brushes against a hidden embroidery initials, perhaps sewn into the corner of the fabric. You cannot read them. You don't try. You stack the cushion with the others. The afternoon passes in this rhythm. Pack, fold, polish, arrange. The sun begins to lower again. Shadows stretch across the walls. You are dismissed. You return to your chamber. Suna is not there. Her shoes are gone. A single fig sits on your mat. You pick it up. It's fresh. You don't eat it. You set it beside your basin. You lie back. You stare at the ceiling. You hear footsteps outside, then silence. Then the distant creak of the garden gate. The silence lingers into the evening. You stay lying on your mat, eyes fixed on the plaster ceiling, where a crack runs from corner to center, like a river drying beneath the sun. It's faint, almost invisible in daylight, but under the lamplight it stands out, a thin gray branch growing inward. You don't know how long you've been staring. Outside, footsteps pass now and then, soft and slow. The day is thinning, and with it the sounds of movement shift. Fewer voices, less clatter. Only the rustle of robes, the gentle sweep of a broom against stone. A bell rings once. You sit up. It's time to return to the central salon. Tonight, something is different. You can feel it in the way the eunuchs walk slower, but heavier, as if something is about to begin or end. You cannot tell which. You wash your hands in the copper basin, dry them on the edge of your robe, adjust the sash. You press your palm briefly to your chest, 3 fingers wide, thumb low, a gesture of readiness, a habit more than a ritual. The hallway is quiet as you walk, the lamps glowing in their recessed niches. The tiles beneath your feet are colder than usual. You count your steps as you go, not to measure distance, but to keep steady. At the turn near the atrium, a eunuch waits. He holds a silver rod, plain and thin, no decoration. That's new. He doesn't speak, just gestures. You nod and follow him. You're not alone. Others walk behind you. 6, maybe 7. You're taken to the smaller waiting room outside the inner salon. You've been here once before. It's lined with green velvet and its floor is carpeted in red. The only light comes from a narrow window high on the wall where the last threads of sunset sneak through. You sit where you're told, hands on your knees, back straight. The room is silent. No one speaks. In the corner, a brass bowl smolders with myrrh. The smoke curls toward the ceiling like a slow breath. You inhale, exhale, keep still. The eunuch returns after a while. He speaks a single name. It is not yours. One of the girls stands. She is older than you. Her robe is darker. Her face is unreadable. She walks through the curtain and disappears. No one says anything. The rest of you wait. You feel your own breath growing louder. The girl beside you shifts slightly. The sound of fabric against fabric. Her slipper falls off. She reaches down, replaces it silently. Her fingers tremble. You hear the curtain part again. Another name. Another girl stands. She leaves. It continues. Not you. Not yet. You wait. One by one, the others are taken, until you are the only one left. You begin to wonder. Then the eunuch returns. He says nothing. He looks at you, then gestures. You stand. Your legs are steady. You walk through the curtain. The inner salon is warmer than you expect. The lamps burn lower. The shadows cling to the walls. The floor is layered with thick carpets. The walls are draped in silk crimson and gold, stitched with repeating motifs. Tulips again. Always tulips. In the center of the room, a raised platform. On it, a table. Around it, nothing but space. You stand to one side. A eunuch brings in a small box. He opens it. Inside, coal, a comb, a vial of oil. He sets it down near you and leaves. No words. You begin preparing, not for presentation, but for the possibility of it. You anoint your wrists with oil, saffron, jasmine. You comb your hair again, braid it quickly. You dab a trace of kohl beneath your lower lashes. Not too much. Your hands are steady. You wait. 10 minutes. 20. You don't sit. Eventually, a eunuch returns. But not to summon you. he hands you a small note, folded, unsealed. Inside a simple message. Remain in readiness. You nod. He leaves. You remain standing. You don't know if this means tonight, or tomorrow, or next week. You fold the note. You tuck it inside your sash. You are led out, back through the curtain, back through the hallway, back to your chamber. Suna is there. She glances at you. You don't speak. Neither does she. You wash your hands again. You untie your sash, lay it over the foot of your mat. The note remains tucked inside. You lie down. Outside the window, the moon has risen. It paints a square of light on the opposite wall. You watch it shift slowly as time moves forward. In the distance, someone sings. A lullaby. Not for you, not for anyone here, but it drifts through the walls, the notes familiar and faint. You close your eyes. Your fingers still smell of saffron. Morning returns with no sound but breath. The bell hasn't rung yet. Light pushes against the edges of the small window in your chamber, pooling on the wall in a dull silver square. The air smells faintly of burned oil and damp cloth. You lie still, watching that rectangle of light shift by fractions. Suna stirs beside you. She doesn't speak. Neither do you. You sit up slowly. Your bones creak a little. Your knees feel swollen from the stone floor, the cold air, the long silences. The note is still folded inside your sash. You retrieve it. The edges are creased now, the ink slightly smudged from where your fingers rested. Remain in readiness. You read the words again. They haven't changed. You place it beneath your sleeping mat. No one needs to know. A bell rings. One tone low and even. You rise. Your robe is still neatly folded on the wooden hook by the basin. The copper bowl beside it is half full with yesterday's water. You splash it on your face, rubbing the sleep from your temples, your cheeks, your chin. You comb your fingers through your hair, not with urgency, but with care. This is not a day for forgetting details. You wrap your sash tighter. In the hallway, the same procession unfolds. The others gather from their chambers, emerging like quiet birds at the edge of the bath corridor. Some blink slowly. Others already carry their linen bundles and oils. You file into the steam room. The routine is the same. Stone underfoot. Light filtering from above through the shaped holes in the ceiling. The damp air clings to your skin. You wash with slow precision. Elbows, ankles, back of the neck. No one speaks. Today the towels are newer, slightly thicker. Dyed in deeper colors, burnt orange, plum mustard. Someone mentions this means there is a guest in the palace. Maybe a vizier, maybe a foreign ambassador. You do not ask. You finish quickly. The heat weighs on your shoulders like a cloak. You dry your feet last, then slip on your soft slippers and return to your chamber. The note stays hidden. You brush your hair and wrap it in 2 thick braids. You apply a trace of oil behind each ear. Your robe is clean. Your sash is unwrinkled. You sit and wait. Breakfast arrives lighter than usual. Slices of dates, a triangle of bread, half a boiled egg. You chew without taste. You swallow without thought. Then the summons. Not for you, for Yasemin. She walks past your chamber with her chin high. Her slippers don't make a sound. Her braid is decorated with a tiny silver thread. You close your eyes. After the meal, you are directed to the salon near the valide's chambers. You are to observe today's visitors, not entertain, not serve. Just sit and learn. The hallway is more crowded now. Eunuchs pass with trays, papers, books, rolls of cloth. You press yourself flat against the wall each time they pass. You do not speak. The salon is bright. It has 6 windows, all facing the interior courtyard. Sunlight floods the rugs pools in the corners, reflects off the polished brass fixtures along the walls. The cushions are arranged in a perfect crescent around the central dais, which holds only a single wooden stand and a bowl of lemons. You take your seat in the second row. Others file in around you. Not many, perhaps 12 concubines in all. The valide enters from the opposite side. She wears gray again. Her veil is heavy, but her eyes are alert. She sits on the central cushion. The room stills. Then the guest arrives. A woman. She's dressed in deep blue silk. Not a concubine. Her face is older, worn, confident. A foreign accent shapes her speech, though she speaks fluent Ottoman Turkish. You listen. She speaks of spices, of the caravans from Basra, of the tax shipments delayed at the Euphrates crossing, of arrangements made unmade promised again. You do not understand all of it, but you listen. The valide answers sparingly. Short questions, shorter responses. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't smile. The other woman offers a small silver container a gift. The valide nods. The woman bows and leaves. Another guest enters. This one brings a jar of saffron wrapped in linen. She speaks more, faster. The valide interrupts twice. The conversation ends quickly. You begin to sense which words are good, which are mistakes. Tone matters more than language. Gesture more than dress. One mistake looking too long. You mark this. After the last guest departs, the valide stands and exits without a word. The salon empties behind her. You remain. A eunuch taps your shoulder. You are handed a scroll. Your name is on it. You bow, take it, and follow. You return to your chamber. Inside, Suna is gone. You unfold the scroll. A single sentence. You will attend tonight's meal preparation. You fold it again. This, too, you tuck beneath the mat. The afternoon passes in stillness. You wait until the bell rings again. Then you walk toward the kitchens. This is your first time in the inner meal preparation room. It's different than the outer kitchens. Smaller, quieter, richer. The bowls here are gold-rimmed. The pitchers are inlaid with turquoise. Each tray is lined with silk. You are assigned to carry a dish of stewed quince, sweet, clove-scented, placed in a shallow bowl carved from polished wood. You walk carefully. The path to the Sultan's outer dining chamber is silent. A eunuch meets you. He gestures. You place the tray where instructed. You bow. You leave. That's all. No one speaks your name. No one corrects your pace. But still you feel the difference. Your hands tremble once. Only after. Back in your chamber, the note beneath your mat feels heavier. You do not read it again. You know the words. Remain in readiness. You lie down. The window is dark now. No light at all. Just the sound of your breath. And waiting. The next day opens with no sound but the gentle drag of a slipper outside your door. A eunuch walking the corridor, checking for lights still burning. Your lamp is out. You didn't forget. You open your eyes and lie still for a moment. No bell yet. Just the cold quiet of early morning pressing down through the high windows, filling every crack in the stone walls, seeping into the seams of your robe. You sit up slowly. The scroll from yesterday is gone. You burned it the night before, folding it tightly, lighting the edge with a splinter, letting it turn to ash in your basin. A precaution. One taught, not instructed. A rule followed without being spoken aloud. You dress in a darker sash today. Not mourning, but restraint. You tie it evenly and tightly, smoothing the folds with your palms. The room smells faintly of last night's meal, quince and clove. You check your hair, your hands, your breath. Then you wait. The bell rings. A single tone. You rise. The morning moves with its usual rhythm. Wash basin, robes, corridor, steam. You go through the motions without thinking. Each step, each pause familiar. Not comforting, but known. In the baths, a girl slips. She catches herself on the edge of the basin. No injury, no sound. But the entire room freezes for a second before movement resumes. You notice how fast everyone forgets. You return to your chamber. The light through the window is brighter now. Full morning sun. Your mat is still warm from where you sat earlier. You pick up your embroidery again. The pomegranate cloth, long set aside, is nearly done. Only a few seeds left. You thread your needle and begin. Half an hour passes. Then the bell again. This time, 2 tones. Instruction. You walk toward the etiquette salon. It's cooler than usual today. Someone has left the window lattices open. You feel the breeze before you enter. A current of cold air wrapping around your ankles, brushing the hem of your robe. The tutor stands at the front. She's dressed in light brown with a cream sash. Her hair is pulled back severely, her face expressionless. She carries a carved wooden stick, not for punishment, but for correction. Today's lesson is dining posture. You kneel on a cushion, hands flat, back straight. You bow your head slightly, just enough to show humility, but not enough to suggest submission. There's a difference, one that takes years to learn. She walks the row of kneeling concubines, stopping occasionally to lift a chin press, a shoulder shift, a knee. When she reaches you, she taps your elbow. Too stiff, she says. You adjust. Better. She moves on. You hold the pose for 20 more minutes. Your legs tingle, then go numb. You do not move. At the end, a tray is brought out. Not for eating, but for demonstration. On it, 6 dishes. Not real, just filled with colored wax. Rice, lamb, pomegranate, dates, honey, pickled lemon. The tutor names each one. You are taught how to lift a spoon, how to serve without bending the wrist, how to wait for permission, how to stop eating mid-motion if interrupted. You practice. Each girl gets one turn. You wait until yours. When your name is called, you kneel before the tray, reach forward, and serve an invisible guest with invisible manners. You pause halfway through as instructed. You keep your eyes down. You wait for approval. The tutor nods once. Acceptable. You return to your place. At the end of the lesson, you're handed a folded linen, pale blue, a sign of dining instruction completed. You tuck it into your sash. No applause, no acknowledgement. Just another tile laid in the path forward. You return to your chamber. The pomegranate cloth waits for you. You finish the last few stitches. Then fold it. Set it aside. Later that afternoon, you are summoned to the Valide Sultan's work salon. You've been there once before, but never alone. You walk slowly, passing through the painted corridor, the one with the mural of the tree with 50 branches. You glance at it. Still, no one explains its meaning. Still, no one touches it. You arrive. A eunuch nods and opens the door. Inside, the valide sits near a low writing desk. No other concubines present. Just her, and 2 eunuchs standing silently by the entrance. She doesn't look up immediately. She writes with a thin reed pen on parchment. The scratching sound echoes faintly. You bow. You do not speak. She finishes the sentence, sets the pen aside. She gestures. You step forward. She hands you a folded note. You take it with both hands. Deliver this, she says. No further instruction. You bow again. You turn and leave. The eunuchs don't move. You walk the corridor in reverse, feeling every tile underfoot. The note in your hands is light, but it feels like something more. You don't open it. You don't even glance at the seal. You find the assigned eunuch near the west wall. You hand him the note. He nods, tucks it into his sleeve, and walks off. He doesn't speak to you. You return to the atrium. You sit by the fountain. The water is still. The petals have been swept. The fish sleep beneath the surface. You fold your hands in your lap and stare at your reflection. Not because you want to see yourself, but because it's the only thing not watching you back. The sound of water remains your company longer than expected. You sit at the edge of the fountain, unmoving, your hands folded your reflection, a pale smudge that ripples slightly every time the breeze leans across the pool. No one speaks to you. No one gestures. No one notices. You stay still. A fig falls behind you, landing with a thud that breaks the silence momentarily. You don't turn. You keep your eyes fixed on the curved brass fish head spouting water in a thin, steady stream. The trickle is constant. So is the silence. Eventually, a eunuch approaches. He stops a few steps away, says nothing, waits. You rise. He leads you down a familiar hallway, the one used for meal service. But tonight, your destination is not the outer vestibule. You are directed to the chamber before it, a waiting room for those tasked with the ceremonial duties around the Sultan's table. The door is wide. Inside, 5 concubines already sit on cushions arranged in a semicircle. Their robes are darker, their faces calmer. One braids her hair again with practiced precision. Another polishes a silver spoon with a square of muslin. You take the empty cushion. No one acknowledges you. That is the rule. A large tray sits in the center of the room. On it, covered bowls wrapped in embroidered cloth. You do not uncover them. That is not your role. A eunuch enters. He announces simply, "Prepare." You rise. So do the others. Each of you is handed an item: a spoon, a bowl, a tray, a folded towel. You are given a copper ewer. It is filled with warm water, lightly scented with orange blossom. Not for drinking, for the Sultan's hands. You follow the others in a slow, silent procession. The corridor is long. The floor is marble polished until your reflection follows each step. The walls are hung with silk panels, red and gold. You do not look at them. You reach the outer dining chamber. It is large, but not excessive. The table is not European. No chairs, no polished forks. Just low cushions, wide trays, and small bowls. You enter one by one. You take your place near the second arch, kneeling behind your assigned station. You hold the ewer steady. You do not set it down. The room fills with soft noise cloth against cushion utensils, lightly arranged oil lamps crackling faintly. Then silence. The Sultan enters. You do not raise your head. You see only the hem of his robe. Midnight blue. The edge embroidered in gold script. He sits. A signal is given. You move. Each girl performs her part with practiced rhythm. One unfolds a towel. Another removes the first cover from the tray. A third ladles the soup. You step forward when summoned, pouring water over the Sultan's hands into a silver basin held by a eunuch. You do not look up. You step back. The meal proceeds. The Sultan speaks occasionally. Not to you. His voice is low, his words few. You kneel at the edge of the room, still holding the now empty ewer. You observe. The order of dishes follows tradition. Soup, meat, vegetables, rice, sweets. Each served in a specific bowl, each presented in silence. The concubine who places the rice adjusts her sleeve too late. It brushes the cushion. The eunuch beside her notices. She is not reprimanded, but you know it will be remembered. No one speaks to you. No one looks at you. The meal ends. You collect nothing. You leave with the others. Back through the corridor. Back to the waiting chamber. There each of you returns your item. You place the ewer in a wooden box. The lid closes with a dull sound. A eunuch dismisses you with a flick of the hand. You walk the halls alone. Back to the harem. Back to your chamber. Suna is not there. You sit on your mat and untie your sash slowly. You place the copper ring from the ewer's handle, slipped free when you rinsed it on the floor before you. You weren't told to keep it, but no one said to return it either. You lie down. You do not sleep. You listen. The harem is quieter than usual tonight. Even the lute is silent. Just the wind across the tile, and the memory of every movement, every spoon lifted, every step taken, every breath measured. By morning, the copper ring is cold in your palm. You hold it for a few moments before wrapping it in a scrap of cloth and placing it beneath the woven mat near the corner of your chamber. No one saw you keep it. No one will check. But still, you bury it carefully flat, even silent. Suna returns just before the bell. Her steps are slow. Her robe is wrinkled. She doesn't speak. She sits near the basin, pours water over her hands, and rubs her knuckles, as if she's washing away something that clings. You don't ask. She doesn't offer. when the bell rings once you both rise. The morning routine is lighter today. The baths are shorter, the towels are fewer, the oil trays are not restocked. You notice the small changes. No one mentions them, but they register. In the main corridor, a eunuch is polishing the brass threshold. That only happens before a formal visitation. You count 3 new rugs unrolled by the arches. Another sign. Something or someone is coming. You follow the others toward the courtyard. Breakfast is arranged in smaller clusters today. Instead of one long bench, the trays are separated across 5 stone tables under the fig trees. You're assigned to the second table. Your group includes a girl from the Persian wing, 2 older concubines who rarely speak, and one new face, a very young girl, maybe 13. Her hands shake as she picks up her bread. She drops an olive. It rolls toward your side of the table. You pick it up and hand it back. She nods, says nothing. The rest of the meal passes in quiet motion. The bread is dry. The cheese crumbles too easily. The dates are sweeter than usual. You chew each bite thoroughly. You fold your napkin. You wait. After the trays are cleared, you are not dismissed. Instead, a eunuch calls names. Yours is one of them. You are to report to the prayer hall. No explanation. You follow the line of girls down the corridor. You pass the room with the old mural again, still 50 branches, still no answer. The path narrows and the walls shift from tile to plain plaster. The scent of incense grows stronger. Inside the prayer hall, the air is warmer than usual. The rugs have been replaced dark blue, thick new. The lamps burn lower. The sunlight is blocked by drawn curtains. You kneel with the others. There are no lessons today, no chants, no instructions, just quiet. The eunuch in charge sits at the edge of the room, unmoving. The purpose is not spoken, but understood. Today is for reflection, for penitence, for regulation. You lower your head, you breathe. You listen to the sound of the others breathing, to the way cloth shifts when someone adjusts their posture, to the stillness that stretches out longer than an hour, longer than 2. Eventually, one by one, you are dismissed. No words, just a nod. You leave the prayer hall in silence. Back in your chamber, Suna is sleeping. She has not eaten. You step lightly. You return to the mat. Sit. Unfold your embroidery. But your fingers don't move. The needle sits in your palm. You think of the prayer hall, the silence that filled it, and how it pressed against your ribs like water. You set the needle down. That evening, a visitor arrives. Not for the Sultan, for the Valide Sultan. An older woman, dressed in purple silk with a staff of carved wood and a veil that covers her entire face. She is escorted through the main corridor with no explanation. The guards clear the hall. The concubines step aside. You watch from the archway near the kitchen vestibule. She does not glance at you. Her steps are measured, slow, unhurried. She enters the Valide's chamber and does not emerge until night. Rumors begin immediately. A mystic, a former concubine, a seer. Historians still argue whether spiritual advisors held real power in the harem or if their presence served more to reinforce existing authority structures. Some records describe women with alleged insight into dreams, omens, fortunes. Others claim they were simply mouthpieces for the Validay's personal will. You don't wonder. You just remember the smell of her perfume, sharp and herbal, unlike the floral oils you're used to. That night, you are called to the small salon. Not alone. 10 of you total. You sit in 2 rows. The Validay does not come. Instead, her attendant reads a list of changes. A girl has been dismissed. Another reassigned to the garden staff. A third promoted to private music tutor. One concubine has been granted release. That last part causes a shift in the room. Eyes widen, but only for a moment. You show nothing. The meeting ends. You walk back to your room. Suna is still asleep. You do not wake her. You sit at the edge of your mat and unfold the pomegranate cloth. You touch the last seed. You tie the final knot. It is finished. You fold it, set it beneath the basin, and lie down. No dreams, only the memory of kneeling, and the long breath of stillness that settles over everything in its wake. You rise before the bell, not because of a summons, but because your body has memorized the pattern of these mornings. The stone floor feels colder than it did yesterday. You sit up slowly, fingers pressed flat against your thighs, listening for movement beyond the door. Suna is still asleep. Her breathing is shallow but steady. You let her rest. You light the oil lamp using a taper from the corner. The flame flares briefly, then settles. Its flicker stretches shadows across the wall, catching the weave of the linen curtain that hangs beside your mat. You take the pomegranate cloth out from beneath the basin and fold it more carefully, this time edges aligned, corners sharp. You place it atop your mat. A bell rings. Once. You wash in silence, wrapping your hair in a clean scarf. You smooth the fabric against your scalp, tying it behind your neck in a simple knot. You select a pale gray robe, plain, unadorned. The cloth smells of cedar. You pass your hand along the hem. No phrase. The corridor outside is quieter than usual. You follow the path toward the eastern gallery where the tile changes from blue to ivory, and the walls bear small square windows set high above eye level. Through them, angled shafts of morning light pour in soft and golden, thick with dust. A eunuch stands at the far end, arms folded. He does not speak, but his presence means something today will be different. You stop. He nods toward the left corridor. You follow it without question. You pass by the perfuming room. The scent is stronger than normal orange peel, clove musk. The coals in the incense braziers glow even in the daylight. At the next turn, you enter the textile chamber. This room is long and narrow, lit by a row of oil lamps suspended from iron hooks. Against the walls, bolts of cloth are stacked from floor to ceiling. Silk, muslin, brocade, velvet, each bundled tightly, some tied with red thread, others with blue. There is no conversation, just the rustle of fabric and the soft footsteps of 3 women already working. You're directed to sit beside an open bundle of deep green velvet. Your task is to cut. Carefully. Precisely. You are handed scissors with handles wrapped in linen. The pattern has already been drawn in chalk, long curved shapes that will become the edge of a robe's sleeve. You begin trimming the lines. Not too close. Not too fast. Any jagged edge will be seen, even if hidden. You work in silence. Across from you, another concubine embroiders a length of crimson silk. She hums under her breath a melody you recognize, though you can't name it. The rise and fall of the notes match the rhythm of the scissors in your hand. Time passes slowly. A tray of tea arrives. Small glass cups set in silver holders. You sip without lifting your eyes. The tea is bitter, perfumed with mint. When the tray is collected, you are given new fabric lighter this time. Blue and gold. A sash. You trim again. You do not speak. After several hours, the work is paused. Each of you is handed a folded bundle, the robe pieces, the sash, the instructions. You are told to deliver it to the embroidery chamber near the Valide Sultan's private hall. You rise, bow slightly, and leave. The path to the private wing is quieter than the rest of the harem. The stone here is more polished, the arches taller, the latticework finer. You pass the fountain again, this one shaped like a tulip in bloom water trickling down its petals. At the door, a eunuch receives your bundle without a word. He opens the cloth, checks the edges, then hands it off to an assistant behind him. You are dismissed. You turn to go, but then a sound, a name, yours, spoken plainly, directly. You stop. You turn. Another eunuch, standing near the inner door, steps forward and gestures for you to follow. You do. You enter a smaller salon, a room of silence, high ceilings, thick carpets. The walls are pale yellow, painted with patterns of cypress trees and narrow rivers. You kneel. A moment later, the Valide Sultan enters. She does not sit immediately. She studies you. Then finally she speaks. Who trained you in the embroidery hall? You answer calmly. Madame Selvinaz, Your Grace. She nods once. She no longer serves here, but her work remains. You wait. She walks slowly toward a table near the window. On it, the robe sleeve you helped cut earlier. She lifts the edge. Steady hand, she says. You understand precision. Yes, Your Grace. A long pause. She studies the seam again, then gestures. You will assist the elder embroiderers for the next 3 days. Report to the upper salon. At dawn, you bow. You are dismissed. You walk back through the corridor. Down the polished steps. Through the garden court. Your heart does not race, but your fingers still tingle from where the scissors pressed into your skin. Back in your chamber, Suna is awake. She watches you enter, but says nothing. You nod to her. She nods back. The sun has dipped past the window's edge. The light on the floor grows softer. You sit at the edge of your mat and thread a fresh needle, not because you were told to, but because your hands do not want to be still. The upper salon smells of wax and old silk. You arrive just before dawn, stepping lightly through the inner hall. The stone is cold, your slippers too thin, but you do not shiver. Above you, colored glass windows catch the pale sunrise and scatter it across the tiled floor like crushed gemstones. The door to the salon stands open. Inside, 6 elder concubines sit at a long, low table. Each wears robes of muted green or gray hair wrapped in tightly bound scarves, fingers already busy with thread and needle. Their spines are straight movements, deliberate faces, expressionless. You bow. No one speaks. You sit on the mat left open for you at the far end. A seventh woman enters. She is not old, but older than you. Her eyes are heavy-lidded. She walks with a slight limp and carries a basket of tightly folded cloth. She places it on the table, then unrolls a length of dark blue velvet. The first assignment. You are handed a section of sleeve, already cut. The edge has been marked in chalk with a fine vine pattern. Tiny leaves, thornless roses, a thin border line. You are given a small needle and a spool of golden thread. You begin. The thread is fine. It catches easily. You move slowly, carefully. The stitch must be invisible from beneath bright but unbroken above. Each curve must match the chalk pattern. Deviate and the thread must be pulled out slowly without damaging the fabric. No one talks. Only the sound of breathing, of thread pulled taut, of the occasional soft grunt when a knot catches or a seam twists. Time stretches. The sunlight shifts from pale to warm. A tray arrives with tea and a plate of plain bread. You eat without rising. The tea is strong and hot. The bread soft enough to break with one hand. You continue stitching. Your back begins to ache. You do not shift. The eldest woman across from you lifts her work into the light and inspects a row of stitches. She frowns, then carefully unpicks 10 of them. No sound, just the slow undoing of effort. Then she begins again. You learn from this. You keep your stitches small. By mid-morning, the sleeve section is halfway complete. The vine curls symmetrical. The rosebuds bloom evenly. The thread glows faintly in the angled sunlight. One of the elder concubines gestures for you to stop. You set the cloth down. She takes it, studies it, says nothing. She sets it aside. Not in the discard basket, in the completed pile. You return to your cushion. A new task is handed to you, a collar panel. This time, red silk. The pattern is denser interlocking stars, each no bigger than your fingernail. You begin again. Your fingers cramp. You stretch them slowly, one by one. You don't pause. Hours pass. Another tray arrives. Water with mint. You sip once. When the bell rings once from the western corridor, the day is halfway done. You stand bow and are dismissed. You return to your chamber. Suna isn't there. You lie on your mat, staring at the ceiling. Your hands ache, but you feel no regret. In the evening, you are summoned not to the salon, not to the kitchens, but to the enclosed garden near the Valide Sultan's quarters. The sky above the garden is deep blue dotted with birds drifting silently above the domed roofs. The walls around you are ivy-covered. The fig trees sway gently. There are benches here, but you don't sit. Instead, you stand with 3 others. You are each given a tray. On it, small jars of unguents, saffron oil, pomegranate lotion, clove balm. You are to inventory the jars. Measure the contents. Return them to the covered cabinet. The work is simple but deliberate. You learn the weight of an empty jar, the difference between rose oil and musk. You handle each one with care. A mistake in scent is not forgiven. After sunset, you are sent back to your chamber. You walk slowly this time. Your hands smell of citrus and sandalwood. Suna is back. She sits on her mat, knees pulled to her chest. Her face is unreadable. You light the lamp. She speaks without turning. He was pleased, she says. You say nothing. She lies down. You stare at the oil's flickering light. Outside, the wind picks up. The windows rattle once. You lie down. Your breath slows. You think of the vine pattern, the curve of each rose. You fall asleep thinking of thread pulled taut. Not people, not names, just thread. Dawn creeps slowly across the palace walls. You wake with the faint scent of jasmine and heated stone. The morning is cooler than it has been, the air carrying a soft humidity that clings to your skin beneath your robes. You sit up careful, not to disturb the sleeping figure beside you. Suna does not move. You fold your hands on your lap and listen to the sounds outside your chamber. Faint footsteps of servants beginning their rounds. The distant clatter of pottery in the kitchens, the soft murmur of water in the courtyard fountains. The bell rings. One clear note. You rise and dress with precision. The pale gray robe embroidered sash silk scarf tied neatly around your head. You gather your embroidery cloth and needles, slipping them into your sleeve. The corridor is quiet as you make your way to the Valide Sultan's private chambers. You follow the familiar route through tiled passages and shadowed halls. A pair of eunuchs stand at the entrance, their faces unreadable behind their veils. They nod to you. Inside the chamber is warm. The air smells faintly of incense and beeswax. The Valide Sultan sits in a cushioned alcove flanked by attendants who do not move. She gestures for you to approach. You kneel before her. She takes the embroidered cloth from your hands and unfolds it carefully. The light from the window catches the golden thread, causing it to shimmer faintly. She runs her fingers over the stitches, her eyes narrowing. Fine work, she says softly. You have learned well. A moment passes. Then she reaches into a small chest and withdraws a folded parchment. She hands it to you. The seal bears the imperial crest. You break it open with trembling fingers. Inside is a summons, a call to the Sultan's private chambers. You are to prepare for presentation. Your heart beats faster, but you do not show it. You bow deeply. The Valide Sultan nods. You rise and leave. The path back to your chamber is a blur. You gather your finest silks, your jewelry, your combs and oils. You begin to prepare. Your hands tremble as you anoint your wrists with jasmine oil. You braid your hair tightly, weaving in a small golden pin gifted to you days ago. You do not speak. You do not look in the mirror. You wait. The bell rings twice. You follow the eunuch who comes for you. His robe is embroidered with silver thread. He does not speak. You walk through the long corridors past empty rooms and curtained windows. You enter the Sultan's chamber. It is larger than you imagined. The walls are lined with velvet drapes. The floor is covered with thick rugs embroidered in reds and golds. Oil lamps burn softly, casting flickering shadows. The Sultan sits on a low divan, dressed in white silk. His face is serene but unreadable. You kneel before him. He regards you silently. A moment passes. Then he gestures. You present the embroidered cloth. He examines it carefully. His fingers brush over the golden stitches. He nods. Good, he says. No more. You rise. You are dismissed. You leave the chamber slowly. The eunuch escorts you back through the silent halls. Outside, the palace feels colder. The sun is setting. You return to your chamber. Suna waits. She does not speak. You sit beside her. You fold your hands in your lap. The day has ended. The night settles thick over the palace. You lie awake on your mat, the soft sound of silk rustling as servants pass in the corridors outside. The oil lamp flickers low, casting shadows that crawl along the cracked plaster walls like slow-moving creatures. Your hands feel heavy from the day's work. The embroidery cloth lies folded on the small wooden table beside you, its golden thread glinting faintly in the lamp's wan light. You listen to the distant call to prayer carried softly on the cool night air. The voices rise and fall like waves against the stone walls. You close your eyes, but the images linger the dim light of the Sultan's chamber, the careful examination of your work, the silent nod. You remember the feel of the silk beneath your fingers, the sharp scent of jasmine oil on your wrists, the weight of the golden pin in your braid. The memory is comforting and cold all at once. You breathe slowly. In, out. The door opens quietly. A eunuch steps inside. His robe is black, trimmed with gold. He carries a small scroll. He does not speak. He approaches your mat and unrolls the scroll in front of you. The ink is dark, the script neat. You read, "Prepare to present yourself to the Valide Sultan at dawn." Your path forward begins there. You nod silently. He folds the scroll and leaves as quietly as he came. You lie back. The shadows lengthen. Your breath evens. You are ready. The palace sleeps. And so do you. The first light of dawn slips quietly through the lattice window, scattering soft patterns of gold across your chamber floor. You awake slowly, the silk of your robe cool against your skin. The faint scent of orange blossom lingers in the air, mingling with the earthiness of heated stone. You sit up feeling the weight of the past days resting on your shoulders. Today is different. The note you received the night before is folded carefully beneath your sleeping mat. Its words heavy in your mind. Your path forward begins there. You rise and dress deliberately. The pale gray robe with embroidered edges, your silk sash wrapped tight. Your hair braided neatly, the golden pin glinting faintly. You gather your embroidery cloth and needle, tucking them inside your sleeve. In the corridor, you join the line of concubines walking toward the Valide Sultan's chamber. The hall is quiet, the walls echoing the soft shuffle of slippers. The sunlight filters through high windows, painting pools of light on the polished floor. A eunuch stands at the door to the chamber, nodding once as you enter. Inside, the Valide Sultan sits surrounded by her attendants. Her presence fills the room a quiet, commanding force. Her eyes meet yours, steady and piercing. You kneel and present your embroidery cloth. She takes it, unfolding the delicate fabric with care. The golden thread gleams in the light. She studies it silently, then looks up. "You have proven your skill and patience," she says softly. A brief pause. "You will be moved to the inner service. Your duties will change. Prepare yourself." You bow deeply. The attendants move forward, guiding you toward the next phase. You leave the chamber, your heart steady, your mind alert. The path ahead is uncertain, but you are ready. Back in your chamber, Suna awaits. She does not speak, but her eyes hold a quiet understanding. You both prepare for the coming days. The palace around you breathes slowly. The domes catch the rising sun, and your journey continues. The day begins with the familiar rhythm of footsteps, voices muted beneath thick curtains. You rise with the sun's first glow, folding the pale gray robe and tucking your embroidery cloth safely within its folds. The golden pin remains in your braid, a silent testament to your progress. The corridors of the palace feel different today, less oppressive, though no less ordered. The tiles shine brighter under the morning light, the scent of jasmine and rosewater stronger in the air. You are led through a series of passages previously unseen, their walls lined with rich tapestries depicting hunting scenes and flowing rivers. The silk threads glimmer in the sunlight, intricate patterns, telling stories you will never fully understand. Your destination is the Sultan's private service chambers, a realm where few concubines are permitted. The doors are heavy, carved with floral motifs and inset with mother of pearl. You enter quietly. The room is small and warm, lit by several brass oil lamps. A low table sits in the center, set with trays of fine dishes, dried fruits, spiced nuts, rosewater jelly. You kneel beside the table, your hands folded respectfully in your lap. The Sultan's attendants move with quiet efficiency, arranging the dishes with care. Your duty is to assist, to serve with grace and discretion. You move through the motions with steady precision, aware that every gesture is observed and recorded in memory. The hours pass slowly. You learn the intricacies of service, the order in which dishes are presented, the exact angle at which trays are carried the proper way to receive and respond to a glance or nod from the Sultan. No word is spoken directly to you, but every action is a lesson. When the meal concludes, you help clear the chamber. The lamps burn lower. The room cools. You are dismissed with a brief nod. You return through the labyrinth of corridors to your chamber. Suna greets you silently. You share no words, but your eyes meet. In this quiet understanding, there is comfort. The palace hums softly around you. The day ends, as it began in stillness. Night descends slowly over the palace. The stars emerge faintly above the domed rooftops, distant and cold. You lie on your mat, the embroidered cloth folded carefully beside you. Your fingers trace its edges one last time, memorizing the texture of thread and fabric. Outside the courtyard is silent. The fountains drip quietly, their steady rhythm a gentle lullaby. The scent of jasmine and rosewater lingers in the air, mingling with the coolness of the evening breeze. Your eyes grow heavy. The oil lamp flickers low, casting soft shadows that dance across the walls. The cracks in the plaster seem to stretch and bend, weaving stories of their own. You breathe slowly. In, out. The days blend together. Now rituals, repeated lessons learned, moments seized and lost. You recall the flicker of the Valide Sultan's gaze, the weight of the silk robe, the feel of golden thread beneath your fingers. You feel the quiet strength growing within you. Outside the window, a lone bird calls softly. The palace sleeps, and so do you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together.